thought I would quickly show you a project that I've been working on this week. It's kind of a test of like building a sort of game system using ChatGPT, and this is separate to soft skills. This is more of like a standalone system using Unreal Engine. It doesn't have to be Unreal Engine. It's just that I'm quite familiar with that in terms of like a coding perspective. So I've been able to like iterate my ideas over the last couple of days in order to create a thing or a system at least that could be output to something else. So we might redo it in Python or might not even use it, but I kind of wanted to show it because it's an example of how to use agents in ChatGPT. So I'll show you what's going on first. Right, so let's load up the game. And first of all, the game will generate a scenario for us. It'll give us like what we're doing in the game, and it'll tell us about some of the characters that we're going to interact with. Here we go. We've got our scenario. So we are a rookie game writer, and we're in the gaming industry working with a studio called Pixel Power. And we're going to be working with two people. We're going to be working with Alex, this creative director, and Jordan, who is a producer. And they're kind of at odds with each other. That's kind of the idea of the game, is that you're working with these different characters to kind of explore a scenario. So it gives you a little bit of information about them, and then we can start the game. So we are talking to Alex here, and we have some options of things that we can talk to her about. Now, this UI is just something I've thrown together. This is by no means how I'm planning anything to be. It's more about the system behind it. But I thought it was helpful to have a kind of familiar UI to deal with. So we can say something like, what are we dealing with here? Here we go. Here we go. We're creating a new game. This has gone over the text a little bit, but don't worry. Balancing inventive storytelling with timely execution and strict budget timelines. What are we dealing with? So she'll think about that for a minute. And so this whole conversation we're having with her, like, will carry on as we go. Like, she knows the history of the conversation. These are kind of test ones, but I'll click one to show you what happens. Because every time that we're talking to her, it's sending a request off to get more options to talk about. So we saw one come back there. So she's telling me who I am, and then this is like what we can respond with. So we can say, could you both outline what success we'd like to have for the project? So that's her thing of that, and then we've got another request. So we'll keep going basically, and we'll keep getting these responses that we can say back to her. And the kind of interesting bit here is what's happening on the back end, and I'll show you that now. So that's kind of like a little bit of a game loop. It looks quite simple, but it's quite interesting in terms of what we're doing, because it allows us to do this for basically any subject and any scenario. So what's going on? I have built a system basically that is a system for creating what we call agents, and each agent is a different instance of, in this case, ChatGPT. So there are two agents in the game that are characters. You've got one for Alex and one for Jordan. They're completely separate instances of ChatGPT. They have their own like conversation histories, and we can get them to talk to each other if we want to. We have an initial agent that sets up the scenario. So we give it a bunch of custom prompts to set up the initial scenario. And then from that scenario, we actually feed into the other agents, in this case, Alex and Jordan, as well as our kind of response generator, which I'll show you in a minute, to make sure that everything that happens from that point onwards relates back to the scenario. So in here, update scenarios, yeah, we're getting a response from the agent, the scenario generator agent, which you saw at the beginning, which was the text that we saw. But that same text is being fed into all of the other models. So everything we say to Alex, everything we say to Jordan, and all the responses we get will be tied back into that. So back here, yeah, we're setting up our scenario generator agent here. We're setting up two different here we are. We're setting up the response generator, and this is a different instance, like totally different instance to the other ones. And this agent is designed to give us responses to talk to other people about. So it's not like a character in the game, it's like a tool for us. So in the same way as the scenario generator is a tool, the response generator is a tool for us in order to carry the game forward. And then here we are, we're setting up the two characters as well. And then back in, where is it? Update scenarios in here. No, where am I doing it? think it's when we actually do this, update agents instructions. So as soon as we generate that first scenario, it's actually going back to the agents and saying, hey, this is what you need to know about. So we can kind of change their knowledge or their like history as we go. And most of the time you don't want to do that. Like you want it to have like a kind of linear memory of what we've done. But there are instances where you might want to change that. And especially at the beginning, we'll create it with no instructions. Just it exists, and then we feed it, right, here is the instructions that you need to use from this point onwards. And you can kind of see what's going on here. Like they're separate things. So respond as your assigned character. We're talking to Alex here, and we're talking to the response generator here to say you're an assistant designed to write possible responses. Whereas in this one, we're saying respond as your assigned character with realistic and professional insights. And then we're kind of dynamically feeding information. So again, we're saying your name is Alex, a renowned creative director, and then we're feeding in the scenario to that bit of text in order for it to know about itself as well as what the scenario is. And then similarly on this one, you are an assistant designed to write possible responses to an ongoing conversation, and we feed in that same scenario. So that's kind of it so far. I have some ideas for this. I think I might sort of redo it in Python at some point, because it's sort of, it doesn't really matter what this returns as. It could be a game or it could be a tool. But I thought this was kind of an interesting show of how to use these agents and what they do specifically in different scenarios, especially a game scenario where you're trying to make up these situations and do a sort of live role play that adapts as you go. And you could have free text in there as well. There's no reason that you couldn't just be typing in text, but there's something in this that maybe allows us to kind of create a more curated experience, a bit like the swipe game, where we're telling the user, these are the possible options that you can explore. What would you do in this scenario, or what other option would you do? So that's it for now. I thought I'll show that, and I'll update more as we go.